Hi guys, good morning. Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a pretty exciting review because we've got something a little bit special, a little bit out of the norm, and that is the i5 Electric Touring on review with us today, which is this very handsome looking car behind me. Now, as you know, there aren't many touring options in Singapore that are electric, fully electric. In fact, I think this might be the only one. So this car really kind of occupies a very special niche in the market at the moment, and I think it's something that's very pleasant, especially for people who love estate cars, touring, or sports wagons. I think this is a really good option for those people who want to go electric. But of course, for today's review, let's check out the exterior, show you the styling of the i5 Touring, check out the interior, and then let's go take it for a drive as well, and I'll share with you some of my thoughts about the car on Singapore's roads. But before we do all that, if you're a driver in Singapore and you're looking for an insurance renewal quote, please check out the link in the description box below. We've got some of the most competitive quotes in Singapore for you. Please check them out. It's free to inquire, so if you need those services, and even if you have already gotten a quote from somewhere else, you can also get a quote from us and compare the quotes and see which is better. Now, without any further ado, let's jump straight into the review. Let's go. Alright, so what you see in front of you here is the i5 Touring, and in terms of the drive spec, this is in the eDrive 40 version, so exactly the same drivetrain that you get in the regular i5 sedan. And of course, the main difference here being that this is a Touring, a body style difference, but under the bonnet or under its skin, essentially it is quite similar to the regular i5 sedan. This is of course in the M Sport trim, so you do get some differences in terms of the body styling, and actually, most importantly, the key difference here is that the suspension setup is a little bit different from the regular base model i5 sedan, which I'll share a little bit more with you later on when we take the car for a drive. But for starters, this is in my opinion one of the nicest looking cars of 2024, purely because it is in sports touring electric, whatever you want to call it. But essentially, I think when it comes to car fans, a lot of us we are pretty fond of sports wagons, touring cars, estate cars. We just feel like it looks a little bit different. I'm not sure whether the rest of the population feels this way, but I think it's an absolutely beautiful car. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. You can always get the regular i5 sedan, but for those of you who are big fans of touring cars like myself, this is an absolute looker. I can show you the side as well. So this feels like a really, really long car. I can't remember the exact length of the car, but this is a properly sized car, and it's got real road presence on the road as well because of its length. It just has this air of luxury and sportiness that I think it's quite hard to find on other cars. You got the Hofmeister kink as usual, which is of course the signature of BMW, and then over at the rear you've got some pretty large and prominent diffusers, no exhaust pipes obviously, and perhaps the best part of this car, if you are a golfer like myself, is the fact that this i5 Touring, let me go unlock the car first. I didn't unlock the car. Get a sneak peek at the interior. Where is the unlock button? Over here. Alright, so if you take a look at the boot, this is an absolutely massive boot, and BMW says that it can fit 5 full-size golf bags, and we actually were able to see proof of this during the BMW Golf Cup. They had one on display, and they actually showed us how they configured 5 golf bags within this boot that you see. Now, if you're not a golfer, and you don't require, you don't need to carry golf bags, then this boot space will be good for your long road trips up to Malaysia, or you can even put your dogs in the back. It's got a very nice little space for them, and it's more than enough space for even a large dog to sit down in. So and what I kind of like about it as compared to an SUV as well is that it's kind of low down, so it's going to make it a lot easier for your dogs to jump into the back as well. And generally speaking, I'm also more of a I've always been more of a sedan fan than an SUV fan. So to have the practicality of an SUV built into a body style that sits closer to the ground, I think that's always a great combination as far as myself is concerned. But enough about me. Let's jump into the cabin or jump into the car I'll show you around the interior of the i5 Touring before we go take it for a drive. Alright, so jumping into the cabin of the i5 Touring. Let me just start up the car. So in terms of interior, those of you who are already familiar with the i5 sedan and the review that I posted quite a while back, you will be quite familiar with this interior. It's pretty much the same. But for those of you who are not familiar, allow me to just go through some of the key interior details that might be of interest to you. So first and foremost, you've got this integrated curved display which houses the infotainment unit and the digital driver's display. The infotainment unit runs the latest OS, which comes with the express widgets, so you can move into certain segments of the submenu a lot quicker than before. All this was not available on OS 8, but now it is. So this is an upgrade. In terms of the driver's display, it's pretty standard. You can view all your driving information and you can also toggle between the layouts. There is also a what do you call it? Oh my god, the word escapes me right now. But the yes, your details are illuminated in front of you in the dash, or in the windscreen. So it's a pop-up display, pop-up heads-up display. So that's pretty useful if you're driving for long distances or actually for any purpose as well. It just helps you to not take your eyes off the road. But more importantly, I think these are just some of the luxury features that you get on a car like the i5 Touring. Obviously, this isn't a cheap car, and you do expect to get some luxury features with it. And these are just some of the luxury features that you get with it. Along with that, you also get Harman Kardon sound systems. This isn't the best system on the market in my opinion, but it does a pretty good job over your regular stock system, so no complaints there. In terms of the steering wheel, because this is an M Sport trim, you do get the flat bottom steering wheel with the M Sport emblem. And then around the car, of course, you've got these crystal looking ambient lights, which look absolutely cool, especially when I press the hazard lights. You can see how it pops. Whoa, very, very intense. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but I remember when I was driving a friend around, and then when I pressed the hazard lights, she got a bit alarmed and was kind of she found the lights quite interesting actually. So I don't know, maybe this could be a bit of a party trick. I'm not sure. But in any case, generally speaking, what you'll find in the 5 Series, the i5 Touring, is it's a very modern interior. It's got a lot of tech in it. Oh, actually I forgot, aircon vents. So the entire 5 Series range of cars right now have adopted or have been granted the use of these sort of ventless aircon vents, which are controllable through this I don't know what you call them, little nubbins here, like rubber controllers. So essentially what you get is a very clean interior, because you don't have actual aircon, physical aircon vents that you can see along with the nubbins that control them. It's all quite stealthily embedded into the into the dashboard, so you don't really I mean, it doesn't mess with the aesthetic of the ultra modern car. At the same time, I don't think it's the easiest thing to use. I'm not such a huge fan of it, but I can understand where BMW are coming from when it comes to styling and the need to kind of clean up the interior as well. Because otherwise, you know, your car just looks pretty normal, right? If it has 4 aircon vents, and now it doesn't look like it has any aircon vents. They are just secretly hidden behind the dashboard. In the center console, you've got this very, very standard 2-piece opening, which is very synonymous with 5 Series cars all the way back to maybe the F10 or even before. So this is like a bit of a signature piece already. And then in the center console here, you've got a little wheel button which controls your infotainment unit. Basically everything here that you see in the center console here can be controllable through your touchscreen as well. And then of course you've got your drive selector here. Essentially that's it. That's the key things. Those are the key things about the i5 Touring's interior. As keeping up with most of the modern BMWs today, no sunroof or panoramic roof. But that's okay, I'm not a fan of them anyway. But if you are the kind of person that really loves a panoramic roof, then unfortunately these cars do not come with it. But I'll show you why not having a panoramic roof is a good thing as well when we jump into the back, which we're going to do in just an instant. So let's go to the back, check out how the rear seats are in the i5 Touring Electric. Alright, so welcome to the rear seats of the i5 Touring. So important thing to take note is that this seat right now looks pretty close to me because this is in comfort entry mode. So the car is sort of turned off. The moment I kind of open the doors, it turns off. So actually the seat is actually pushed back further to allow me to exit the driver's seat. So in reality, this will be maybe like 2 to 3 inches further in front, which is quite a lot. But in any case, I'm 175 meters tall, and this is the amount of legroom that I have at the moment, even with the comfort entry seat configuration pushed back. So in reality, I've got actually quite a lot more leg room. In terms of headroom, this is where the magic happens because I've got a lot of headroom. I can fit my entire palm between. And I think this is in part thanks to the fact that there's no panoramic roof as well, or sunroof. So for those of you who don't know, sunroofs and panoramic roofs do take up a bit of additional space, either because they've got blind covers or because there needs to be a dual layer allowance for the sunroof to kind of activate. But in any case, I'm liking this. This looks good, and this feels good. And you've got, you know, you feel like you are, when you have a lot of headroom, you feel like you are in a very spacious space, and I think it's just better for everybody. Creature comforts. i5 Touring is, I think, the kind of car that you would take on an extremely long road trip. It would offer you that kind of power, comfort, and along with those long hours spent in the car, I think it's also very important to keep your passengers happy. And so when it comes to keeping your passengers happy, you've got 2 aircon vents at the back, 2 of them, each with their own, not their own climate control setting, but you can turn them off individually. You've got 2 USB ports in the middle, and then 1 USB port in front of each seat. Over here you've got, I'm not sure what this is, but I think this could be a mount for a mount for a screen, which is possible. And then one of my favorite features has to be the built-in blinds. Now, for those of you who don't have children, you might be wondering why this is important, but for those of you who have children and carry children regularly, you'll understand why these are perfect, and I wouldn't need to explain more. So this is one of those features if you don't have kids and you don't really care about it, then you don't care about it. But if you have kids and you care about it, then it's good to know that it actually exists. Now, one thing special about the i5 that you can't find on other cars is the fact that the little quarter window that you find at the back here is also covered with the blinds. So I think that's pretty cool. Technically, this car has like 2 quarter windows, so a little bit strange, but anyway, not complaining that there are additional blinds in the car. In terms of seating space, so I'm not sure whether you like this is unfortunate or not, but the i5 Touring or the 5 Series platform in general is a dual use platform. So the 5 Series Petrol and the 5 Series Electric both utilize the same platform, and because they utilize the same platform, you will find that the electric version also has the transmission tunnel that is utilized by the petrol version of the 5 Series. So there's a bit of compromise there in a sense. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but generally speaking, when it comes to electric cars today, the general expectation is that the second row floor would be flat, but this one is not. So I would say that this isn't really well equipped to be to carry 3 people at the back, despite being quite a large car. This is really the kind of car that you carry 4 people in very high levels of comfort. So don't push the envelope, don't push the limit, and I think you'll be fine. But if you really wanted to fit 4 people in the car is, oh sorry, 3 people in the back, sorry, not 4 people in the car, 3 people in the back. The car is wide enough to accommodate them. It's just that there is a little bit of a transmission hump in the in the middle here, so the middle passenger will have to probably fight for a bit of leg room, and that might not be so great on longer journeys. Now, if you have kids, smaller kids that require a child seat, you've got ISOFIX points here with very easy to open flaps that help to hide the ISOFIX points. Now, why I even mention the flaps is that there are a lot of cars in the market that come with ISOFIX points and come with covers, but somehow when you open the covers, they don't open wide enough for the ISOFIX lock to kind of go in. I'm not sure why that is, but it's just not very well made. In the case of BMW, these are very well made, and of course we have enough space in the car, so the front passenger will not be too affected even if you have to place a full-size rearward facing capsule child seat in the rear. So that's great. So i5 Touring, very practical so far. Let's jump back into the driver's seat and see how the car is like to drive. Alright, so back in the driver's seat of the i5 Touring. Let's go take the car for a drive. And before we do that, obviously we have to go through some specifications of the car. So this car runs off a 81.2 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is I think on the higher side. But with that larger battery size comes the luxury of a larger driving range as well. So on paper, this car will go up to 548 kilometers on a single charge, but in reality I think you will probably get around, I would say, 500 kilometers out of this car if you drive it sensibly. If you drive it in a not so sensible way, then I think probably maybe 450. Now the tricky thing is it's a bit hard to drive this car in a sensible way because the car is quite pleasantly powerful. And when I say pleasantly powerful, I'm talking about this car packs about 335 brake horsepower, 400 Newton meters of torque, and will go from 0 to 100 in 6.1 seconds. But what's also really interesting about this car is that it has a temporary boost function that will allow you more power than you have on paper. So I'm going to press that right now. So I press the boost button and then I'm going to go. Oh my god. This is bonkers. Okay. Let's stop behaving badly. Now, that was super fun, and there's no doubt at all that the i5 Touring in its eDrive 40 M Sport configuration definitely has the power to inspire a little bit of fun on the roads. But the question is, does the car actually need so much power? So across the few days that I've been driving the car, like obviously I've stepped on the accelerator a few times to kind of see how fast the car performs, but I think most days or most of the time I'm actually driving pretty calmly because, you know, I'm ferrying my wife and my kid in the car, and the car is a touring car after all. You know, it's meant to be comfortable, long range. I don't think the car requires this much power, if I'm being honest. And one of the things that I've kind of realized as well is that because this i5 Touring comes only in the M Sport configuration, that means it comes with M Sport suspension. Now, this is different from the suspension that you get in the baseline i5 sedan, which doesn't have M Sport suspension. In fact, the rear suspension on the i5 sedan is actually it actually rides on air suspension, the rear portion. So the front are coils, the rear is air. And that car was just supremely comfortable. It was just excellent, super comfortable. In fact, when we drove i5 sedan up to Malaysia recently for a golf game, that was just one of the most pleasant car rides I've ever had. Now, is the i5 Touring unpleasant to drive in any way? No, absolutely not. In fact, around corners, the firmer suspension does really help to keep the car in check. And when we're going over undulations like that, the car just doesn't bounce as much. So that's really kind of a sense of there's a bit of a sense of security there, because there are a lot of instances where we are driving in high speed with cars that are sporting maybe a bit of a plusher, more comfortable, more soft kind of suspension setup, when you go over this sort of undulations, it can actually get quite scary because the car does bounce a little bit and you do feel like you're a little bit out of control. But with a firmer suspension setup like you get on the i5 Touring, you don't have that problem because you can thunder through this sort of undulations and the car will be fine. So, you know, I'm not going to talk so much about how the car handles around corners because it is quite a large car and I don't think the target market who are looking to purchase this car are looking to chuck this car around too many corners. But I think driving quickly, fast, down an open highway, let's say you're going up to Malaysia for a road trip and you want to make up some ground, having a firmer suspension setup does help to remove any of the uneasiness that you get from the car bouncing. So I think in that sense, you do get some benefits as well. But around Singapore roads, I must say that, you know, with our construction-ridden roads, with our patchy roads, I feel like the original i5 sedan suspension setup was probably a little bit more comfortable on a day-to-day basis. So I feel like that's really the key difference when I drive the car. Other than that, everything else is perfect, everything else is wonderful. There's more than enough power. The car feels supremely planted on the road. I feel like I could go on for miles and miles and miles in this car without feeling tired. It's just got such a real... it's such a driver's car as well. So if you have any questions about the i5 Touring that maybe I haven't covered or haven't touched on, please feel free to put your questions in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them. If you have found this review useful in any way, or if you have enjoyed this review, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel because we've got more reviews coming out every single week. So in fact, we've got a pretty exciting lineup for you as well, including the Mercedes-Benz C63. So that's coming up in some time. So stay tuned for that. But yes, please subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot of car reviews coming out, and the more followers we have, the better, or the quicker we can get some of these test cars on review for your enjoyment. And if you are a driver in Singapore and you're looking for insurance renewal quote at this time of year, please check out the link in the description box below. It's free to inquire and we've got some of the most competitive quotes out there, so please be sure to check them out. If not, as usual, please take care of yourself, stay safe, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.